Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Recollection Step, a Grand Archive TCG podcast, part of the Maindeck podcast family. I'm Dan.
And I am Taylor. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Dan, I would normally ask you what you played this week at Locals, but I've heard the story already, and I heard it was miserable. So why don't you share that with us instead?
I learned something about myself last week. I am absolutely very excited for the people out there who enjoy this deck. Very excited for the people who watched the recent True Champion Gaming video going over this deck and are excited to play it. And I don't want to yuck anybody's yum, but my God, I am not a Razorgale player. Oh, no. Even when I was winning, I was just miserable. I didn't enjoy it at all. I was telling people it was the least fun I've had playing Grand Archive ever. And I have played in every meta that everybody hated. And I was having a blast. But playing Razorgale, even winning games, I felt like every single turn, all I was doing was spinning wheels, doing nothing the whole time to deal a small amount of damage. The only time, so I was playing the list that we covered in the meta update last week, and the only times when I really started having fun were when I boarded in Vanitas 2 and 3, which led me to believe that I would definitely be playing those main board. Great work, Freedom, on crushing the event with those level 2 and 3 boarded. That's not for me. I need the spike of damage. I need the options. I felt like that list has so many card draw things. All you do every single turn is, yep, I'll draw. Yep, and then I'll play this dig 3, and I'll play this and draw, and play this and draw. And yep, no Razorgale. All right, Pastor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to pee anybody's Cheerios here, but like, I've made my opinions very well known on like card draw regalia in general, and it's pretty wild to me that like Vanitas 2 and 3 are sided because they offer such huge like power spikes for that deck.
Even just going to 2, like with the 3 as an option, the fact that the 3 activates and triggers Razorgales like already is like, feels to me like it should be there, but just having the 2 because of how many spells you could play in your recollection phase, because obviously Step's a podcast, that would like lead to just spikes of an extra 3-4 damage or like clearing stuff off the board that was attacking me. And it was like, I was like, every game one, I was like, what am I doing here? Like, if I don't start double Razorgale, I feel like I'm doing nothing the whole game. And it just was, man, maybe I'm just bad. I'm just going to throw it out there before the comments do, and that's fine. But like, it was not an experience that I wish to repeat. So I'll tell everyone right now, I am not on Razorgale at Toronto. Okay. Or sorry, at Niagara. At Niagara. If you're going to Niagara and you're like, man, I'm going to tech in case Dan's playing Razorgale, stop.
He's not doing it. No,
don't worry about it.
Nope. I mean, that's the thing, right? Is like, much like our beloved Minnesota Loons soccer, Razorgale is a game for sickos. You know, it's for the people who really just want to take some game actions and play some like really pure Grand Archive.
Hey, they got good defense though.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It's a game for sickos.
And they'll kick the ball sometime.
They
eventually
thrive on the counterattack, and they don't need the possession. They don't need to always be on the aggressive, right?
No,
but yeah,
no, we got that good like 30-60 possession. It's pretty fun.
Fine. Yeah. But you get those counterattack chances, and you just take the game over at that point. So you love it. And Razorgale is the same thing. Yeah, just pure unadulterated Grand Archive.
Yeah, I think I would rather just do the whole like heavy swing, armoire the heavy swing, like the Fire CL profile I posted before was the deck I was playing before this. I was having a lot more fun with that. I'd much rather just be on that and just take my chances at high rolling with some fire than than just try to high roll by drawing Razorgales or something.
That's fair. I will say, if I was going to Niagara, you could not pay me enough money to play Fire at that event. I would definitely play Razorgale before I played any sort of Fire deck. I just think it's the meta. While like Fire is still fine, we've reached the point in the meta now where like it's just running out of things to do over the course of a game, and other decks have kind of like figured out how to keep up with the initial like burst, and they just take the long game faster, or take the long game better than Fire can.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, we'll see, right? We'll see when the results show at Niagara. And the fact is, I know there's a lot of good players showing up to Niagara on things like Crux Merlin or Crux Lorraine or Crux something. There's a lot of Fire decks, though, that are showing up, and plenty of people still taking aggro decks, KFC, Dao Chan, Xander just actually took some events as well. So like there are definitely a bunch of Fire decks performing, but
yes,
it does feel to me like this is that point in the metagame now where the Fire decks have kind of had their moment and people are really digging into the wind decks, and we're seeing the water decks coming already, which are having pretty good games against those. Like I'm definitely like, I'm looking at wind and water personally and just kind of trying to figure out what I'm going to vibe with the most. And I honestly won't know my deck until Friday. Is where I'm at with it. But I'm seeing really promising stuff from I think some wind standbys that I have more practice on, that I feel better on, that I feel like have good matchups into some of the Fire decks I expect to see. And then I'm really liking Water CL. I think that's we've seen that the Cabin's list, and then people have taken it and tweaked it a little bit, but that's a water deck that I mean, that and Genbu is still good, but like Genbu's got the obvious counterplay elements that people are ready with, the cleansing rituals, the cleansing reunions, excuse me, the and the ensnaring fumes and stuff that are like, if you can ever resolve it, the Genbu kind of at the right time, the Genbu gets out of there. Where CL's a little newer, fresher, and like not quite as prepared for. So I think we're seeing some pretty good results from those. And Taylor, those are my picks. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of right there with you. I agree. Like I think the Fire aggro lists are still like a pretty good spot to be. They're just not really my cup of tea, but like they feel so much better than the Fire like level 3 lists at the moment. Like it feels like the Fire level 3 lists are really just like, they really want to kill you the turn they get to level 3 or right after that, the turn right after that. Otherwise they kind of just fizzle out pretty quickly. And we're going to get into that a bit more today in the rest of the episode, just kind of talking about like how which advanced elements complement basic elements and how they complement each other, I should say. Maybe is a better way to do that, right? Like, because right now we're seeing, if you're a Fire advanced element deck, you're pretty much Crux. There's a few Fire Umbra CLs running around, and that's kind of about it for like Fire advanced elements, right? So I'd be more drawn to the Fire aggro list and the Fire advanced element lists for Niagara. I'd be looking at Genbu, I'd be looking at Seiryu, I'd be looking at Tristan. Those would all be up there. Water CL as well. Like I think these are all really solid lists at the moment that have like kind of proven themselves over the course of the format now. So and they all have a lot of play to them. Like that's the great part, right? Tristan probably the least amount of play of those four, but still like a decent amount. So those are all pretty flexible and something I want to take into a longer event.
I think the thing that I still like about Tristan, I think I agree that like there are more, it's not that it's like tech options, but decks like Seiryu are really flexible in their ability to go wide, go long, go tall, go spell, go damage. Tristan is very much a known quantity and has there's a lot of cards in that deck that just serve the purpose of getting the Tristan engine going. But I do think that the Tristan engine remains one of the most decisive offensive and defensive like positions to be in, as you know, Taylor. There are many decks, many games, many matchups where you get to 3 and their routes to victory, really, really reduce greatly, or you draw 2 in caps and you Shadow Strike, and there isn't anything that they can do anymore.
Yep.
It's so decisive when it works, and that's where Tristan's always going to be there, right? To some degree.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that's the thing about Tristan. Like her answers are very solid and quite good. It's a lot of the times, do you have the time to like linearly go through the game plan of leveling up, very deliberately making sure you get as much value out of you as you can out of her level 2. Like if you can spare that time, she's great. If you have too much pressure put on early and you don't see enough surveil to wins, like it's really a rough matchup. And so, yeah, I'm in the same boat where I still think she's still very powerful. She just like has a very rigid game plan. We've talked a lot about how you need to be flexible in your materializations moving throughout a game and just responding to what your opponent's doing in order to actually like succeed. And Tristan just does not have the flexibility compared to decks like Seiryu and Genbu that really both those decks really want to go to level 1 really badly on turn 1 or turn 2, but like once they're past that, they have so much freedom in how quickly they level, which material deck cards they want to do. If they want to try and draw cards from the material deck, if they want to try and put out some defensive options or some other offensive options. So like you can respond a lot better to what your opponent's doing and create a game plan from there compared to Tristan, who's like, she's going to go to level 1 at some point when she's comfortable. You've got backup charger, you have Windwalker boots once you're at level 1, but like none of your other material deck cards are good until you're like at level 3, or like trying to like, you might get Assassin's Ripper to do a kill with Slice and Dice early if you like lucked into some preparation counters, but that's
so that like never happens when I play.
I hate Slice and Dice and Tristan so much because
really
it's such a trap in my mind, because like it's nice for like those situations where you like your opponent's stuck on Spirit or you get some good chip damage in early and you can get an early Slice and Dice kill with Ripper, but like so it's so seldom like that you're able to get those prep counters before you're going to level 2 anyway. So like it's sometimes you luck into like a Slice and Dice draw off your level 2 effect, but it's just so I've never actually had like a good Slice and Dice happen with her.
Let me provide, I guess, my perspective. It's a little different than yours. Both of us have played a good amount of Tristan. Obviously, I haven't played it to the level that you have, but I actually I've gone back and forth on it a lot. I think at one point I told you I didn't like it as well. And I'm actually back on it. And the reason I really enjoy the card is actually none of the things you're talking about, which is probably why I like it more.
I know exactly where you're going with it too.
Okay. Well, yeah, just for the audience then. What I like about Slice and Dice specifically is I almost never do early Slice and Dices.
Mm-hmm.
Slice and Dice to me is almost always a bait attack. It is you get to 3, you have 5 prep counters, or 5 or 6 or whatever. It's usually somewhere in that number. And what Slice and Dice allows you to do is if you try to Shadow Strike and get to enough damage, you have to spend at least 5 or 6 prep counters, where you can spend 3 on Slice and Dice and hold prep counters back to still redirect an attack or do a lethal Shadow Strike as a follow-up turn. But the Slice and Dice is still strong enough because of the Shadow's Claw that a lot of the usual ways of stopping the damage, like a Cerulean Decree -3 or something, can't stop enough damage from it. So a Slice and Dice, once you get to 3, baits out tons of their interaction and then opens you up to just get the kill next turn.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it.
I mean, that's the best part about Slice and Dice, right? Is like with Shadow's Claw, you don't need a Ripper. You're still hitting for 15 with the Shadows. And it's 1 less preparation counter at that point. It's essentially like, for me, I see it as Shadow Strike copies like 5, 6, maybe 7. Depending on how many you're running. And that's really what you want, because you do need like a higher threat density in Tristan because of that too. So like that's kind of where it ties the deck together. But man, like it just does not feel good to draw early.
No, it definitely doesn't. But it's one of those cards where like I had to learn over time. And I remember playing this deck into Store Champs HVN season, I think, with Fractals, playing it into everyone playing Fractals because I brought it with mainboarded like 4 Scatter Essence, a bunch of stuff to try and fight. And I really had to learn in those matches how to value my endgame threats, because fractals would get to the point where they would have so many defensive tools in hand.
Yep.
And it became a game of like prioritizing Slice and Dice over Shadow Strike because it was more resource efficient. And just like you were talking about earlier, Tristan's whole thing is you spend the entire game. It's a resource management deck.
Yes.
You're spending the entire game trying to manage 2 different resources, prep counters and cards in hand, as you try to get to the stage, the level where you can actually unleash kills. And when you get to that stage, if you just throw everything away into a Shadow Strike, you lose the next turn.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a key card just because it's just more resource efficient.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm like, but like, so I guess I agree from the perspective of the people who are like, oh, sometimes you just ripper and kill them. Not
Never
usually
happens.
against good players.
That never happens. Yeah, exactly.
It's not something that's open against good players typically.
I'd feel a lot better about Shadows or about Slice and Dice if it was Umbra. Like I'd draw it and then I could be like, oh, I don't have to worry about this for a while. Instead, like I draw a Slice and Dice early as Tristan, and I'm like, okay, do I have an opening for a Slice and Dice here? Or like, do I need to start generating resources for this now so I can have that opening? Like when 90% of the time that answer is no. Like just make it purple and then I can treat it like a Shadow Strike and we're in great shape.
Just make Taylor's choices easier. He doesn't like when he has to add another few branches to his decision tree.
Well, there's already so many decision trees in Grand Archive. Yeah. It's insane.
True.
But
true.
Yeah. So those are like those 4 decks I like. But if I was going to Niagara, I would be bringing Wind Crux because I hinted this at the last podcast. But I brought that to our Star Champs specifically so I could play some Ensnaring Fumes and beat all the Gojo players. And I did end up playing Ensnaring Fumes and beating all the Gojo players, and it was great. It was wonderful.
I did too on Tristan, except when I threw game 2 away against Tony. It was just about to be you and me in the finals.
It was going to be a sweet Recollection Step finals. Instead,
I didn't see the line. I saw it was one of those. Did I talk about this already? But whatever. I saw the line as I passed the turn. I was like, pass turn. Oh wait, I could have won. And then he's like, mill you out. Okay.
Yep. We've all been there.
Enough.
We have all been there. But yeah, so instead of the Recollection deck finals or Recollection Step finals, we had the Taylor versus Tony finals, and Tony was on Genbu, and wow, that felt really nice. So
yeah, I remember I didn't talk about this because I was specifically in this episode going to offer for the viewers and for Maindeck Tony an apology for several episodes in a row of absolutely tanking his reputation as a player who only draws games and never wins them, only to have him beat me in top 4 of our store championship.
Where it was untimed.
Where it was untimed. Well, okay. That's a good point, actually. That's a good point. No. To his credit, though, Tony plays at a very good pace for Genbu, for sure. Mm-hmm. I think Tony has learned very well to play at a pretty good pace. Yep. And if anything, it's me in the tank because I'm rusty. But also, if anything, it was untimed. I really should have thought longer on that turn because I should have won.
Yep. But yeah, that's all right. So yeah, we've got you. We have Alex going to Niagara now from Fargo. We've got a bunch of them from Pennsylvania heading from Maindeck. Perfy and Gurathos are heading up from Gurathos' wedding. So congratulations, Gurathos, as well. I think it's
congrats
on Friday. So
everyone on Maindeck's getting married. It's a popular thing to do.
It's a good time. Good time for it. So that'll be a fun honeymoon, going to Niagara and playing some Grand Archive. So that'll be great. But
I hope he has a chance to see the falls.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just thinking about the Office episode now where Pam and
cut his tie.
Yeah, exactly.
We have to get our obligatory Office reference into the episode, exactly. Right?
Yep. So yeah, no, it's going to be an awesome time. I wish we had a couple more people from Fargo, myself included, going. But it is what it is, and we'll have some good representation. I think actually it's not going to be a huge tournament to begin with. I'm not sure. Tickets are sold out as of a few weeks ago, actually. But I think the tickets capped out pretty low. I'm not exactly sure where they capped out, but I would be surprised if there was more than 300 tickets. I heard the space is not quite big enough to hold more people than that. Although I could be completely off base. I might just be making this up and like completely misremembering what I saw.
There are tickets available right now. So,
we had a few refunds maybe.
I don't know what's going on, but hey, if you are trying to go to Niagara and still want to, there are tickets. Don't listen to Taylor. They're right there.
There are tickets as of this recording, as of right now. If they're gone by the time this hits the airwaves, it's not our fault. So
yeah, let's just say whether they're there or gone, one of us was right or wrong, and you can yell at us in the comments about who was right.
Yes. Either way, it's going to be a really fun event. So yeah, if you can make it. You guys are gonna have a good time. And pretty jealous of everybody going, but it's gonna be awesome. So
can I say, I'm gonna, just before we get into kind of the main thrust of the episode, we're on the topic of Niagara, less about meta now. Just an update on myself, I guess. So I went into this season saying that I was going to be on my training arc and I was going to finally get a spirit and I was going to work really hard. You know what? I can't. I don't have the time anymore, is the truth. And as badly as I want to be a competitive grinder to the level of Taylor during World Season or True Champion Gaming in general or whatever, I have to at some point reckon with reality, I guess, right? And trying to do 2 videos a week. Well, at least 2 videos a week, one for 2 different games, keeping up with 2 different games, video commissions, full-time job at JDubs. Here, by the way, if you need to get Phantom Monarchs, go to jwwcards.com. Discount code Maindeck for 5% off. You can get your pre-orders in right now. Got good prices for you there. Go grab it. But I don't have any time to seriously grind. It's just not a thing. I can't do it. I really believed I would find the time, but I'm not going to blame it on my studio flooding, because if that didn't happen, I still wouldn't have found the time.
He would not have.
But it did happen to be during this time that I've also been dealing with a whole host of other stuff, but no matter what, there would have been something, right? If not that, I might have taken another commission on, I might have, whatever, and, one thing going into Niagara that I'm working on just on a personal level is, as much as I don't think Taylor wants to hear this, I'm tempering my own expectations for myself, for my own mental health. And I think that's really important, actually, though. And I think that's an important thing to talk about. Something that you've heard probably True Champion Gaming talking about also, if you listen to their, by the way, just fantastic podcast. I can't stop listening to them. But they've talked a lot about how they're focusing on content right now. Mm-hmm. And so they've lowered their expectations from Cabin said, literally their expectation was to top events for a while, which is hilarious because they did, and they're that good.
Yep.
But they lowered their expectations now to merely day 2ing the events that they go to, which is, that's good for them. I think I have to go into these events with trying to prepare with the time I have to attempt to day 2, but I don't think I can go in with an expectation of it either. Because I think for me personally, that's having the expectation is putting too much stress on myself. And I for a little while here, like the past week, I was really dreading this trip actually. And as a content creator and someone who loves this game, I really never want to be in the position where I'm going on a vacation to Niagara Falls to play in a card game tournament for a game I love and thinking, and like dreading it and going, I don't want to do this. And I really think part of that was having that expectation of this was my trading arc. This was my one chance to play until, who knows when or whatever. I guess Akihabara is coming up, but then that's a whole set of other expectations and stuff, right? So it's like, sorry, I didn't mean to take a soapbox for too long here, but I want to just tell everyone that it's okay to expect a realistic expectation of yourself. I think it's great to motivate yourself. I think it's great to try hard. It's great to, if you have the time and the willpower to enter a training arc, but even shouting out some of our team members lately, who I know there's a couple of them, I'm not going to name them, but who have been feeling a little more down, who have been not having as much fun, really grinding, maybe not finding the success they're looking for. with certain decks. And even if you are on a competitive team, you consider yourself a competitive player, you've been competitive in the past, there are times and places for everything and for everyone. And it's not always, you don't need to push yourself. It's a game, it's a hobby, and you should always just reality check for a second and go, look, I'm going to Japan, I'm going to Niagara, I'm going to the Philippines, I'm going to Auckland, I'm going to London. Have fun on your trip. Don't, if you're ever at the point where if I don't do well, I'm not going to enjoy myself, then you might need to just reorient, I think, your expectations for yourself.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this shoe to drop for a while now, because it was a month. We've gone through a month leading up to Niagara here, and it's just been Dan playing locals mostly for his training arc. So I knew this was coming, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But still, it's still a bummer to hear. But no, I think this is a really important thing to like talk about, is just making sure that like going into an event with wild expectations, or even like reasonable expectations, can just really like make or break how much you enjoy it. And it's really important to like be cognizant of that and not put too much pressure on yourself to perform, just because not only like maybe you had enough time to put into the preparation as you wanted or not, but like even if you did, like this is a game of chance at the end of the day, right? Like you still are randomizing a deck and drawing random cards from it, and anything can happen, right? So you just can't put too much pressure on yourself that just because like you prepared for an event you're going to do well, or vice versa. Like you know things happen. So it's again, yeah, like you're traveling to these places, they're all fun places, like Boston, Seattle, Anaheim, Utrecht, Singapore, Taipei, Auckland. Like these are all very fun places, and there's lots of like really cool things to see and things to do at these places besides just play Grand Archive. Even if that is the main reason why you're going, and that's the main reason why I've been traveling to a lot of these things, right? So just go have fun and enjoy yourself. And like that's not to say don't be competitive, right? Like every single time I go to one of these events, so I go in with the intention to do as well as I can and to top the event. But you just like having that expectation that you will top that event is kind of like setting yourself up for failure, even if you are Cayman, right? Like Cayman is the like most storied player in the game, most successful player in the game, I would say. Just consistently topping event after event, and has multiple Ascent wins. But like even he knows, like, there's some luck involved. Like there's a lot of preparation involved. There's a ton of preparation involved. Like this man has put so many hours into the game, but at the end of the day, there's still a bit of luck involved as well. And like, it's just, that is what it is. It's just how the game works, which is fine. Like, that's why we play it, right? That's why we're not playing chess. Is because we like that little bit of extra kind of, randomness to it. So just, enjoy yourself.
Ever since I readjusted my expectations about a week ago, when I sat down with myself and I said, hey, you can't expect to do anything crazy here. But I readjusted my expectations, and I stopped worrying about that. And I started just thinking about, what decks will I enjoy playing? What decks will I be able to not exert myself too much playing, as far as figuring out what to pack and what to prepare and what to decide on Friday. And I think I've finally settled in, and I feel more excited again. And I'm going to go in, and day one, I'm going to do the best I can. And obviously I'm going to try hard. I'm going to practice the day before with the team. And I'm going to try to get there. But I do feel like now, even if I don't do well, I'm going to be prepared to at least enjoy myself on the trip, which is a better spot than I was in, even though I didn't talk to you about it too much, Taylor. It's a lot better spot than I was in 2 weeks ago.
That's good to hear. I'm very excited to hear that. I'm excited for you guys to like go have a good time. Even if all of you scrub out and just go 0x drop. I hope that won't be the case. I'd be very surprised if that was the case, but
no.
I trust
Corby needs a second day too.
Oh, I know. I'm very excited. I'm very excited for that. Alex is looking forward to his first day too, I think. I forget. I don't know who all are going from the PA crew, but there's a lot of them who are ready to kind of pick up another day two as well. They've all tasted that action at this point. So, Yeah, it's gonna be a good time. So with that said, let's talk a little bit. We've talked a lot about kind of we're getting to this point in the metagame where like fire is less dominant than it has been. I mean I don't want to steer people too far off course, because like fire is still going to have a very large meta share. Like right now, I think it even has more than a third, up to maybe half of the meta being fire decks. But we're seeing that fall off, and we're seeing a lot of those fire decks be more oriented towards more aggressive decks. And even the level 3 fire decks are fairly aggressive if you consider them in relation to the rest of the meta, right? Mm-hmm. So before we dive into that too much, Dan's already had his, he hasn't done his ad read. He did mention you can help support the channel at jwwcards.com. Go order all of your sick, awesome GA pre-orders there. I think there's still some sets in stock of some other stuff. I don't think there's just started Reflections, unfortunately, but there's very cool Maindeck sleeves you can pick up. On top of that, what you really can do to help out the channel and the podcast is to like, comment, subscribe on the video here. Leave us a 5-star review on all these podcast channels where you would listen to it. Also, just like grab 5-star emojis, throw them into your comment on YouTube if that's what you're doing. Leave us a 5-star review there. Get a little crazy. Why don't you? Right?
That'd be fun.
That would be fun. So yeah, with that out of the way, these fire like level 3 decks, they're essentially aggro decks. If we look at a Merlin list here, we're going to look at Mistel's Fire Prismatic Merlin list from the Webway Games Regional here this last weekend. If you think about this, there's not a lot of cards here that play defense. There's very few cards that play defense, right? There's a few Resolute Stands in here. You have some Interceptors, and you have Incarnate Majesty, which is a really nice, it's a defensive piece, but the Majestic Spirit also hits for 4 every turn, and very reliably. So it's not like it's only defensive. It's a very good offensive weapon. This is a deck that really just wants to get to 3 as fast as it can and start doing its level 3 stuff right away. And this is very different from some of the other level 3 decks we're going to look at later on that have, like, they just level up a little bit more slowly. They're going to spend some more turns making some more defensive materializations, playing some more cards to help them kind of control the flow of the game a little bit more. Whereas like Merlin's just leveling up. Merlin has the flexibility to just sit at level 2, eat some floating memory, and grab a couple level counters if that's the case. Control the graveyard a little bit that way, but really Merlin wants to be at level 3. She wants to be getting level counters in the Recollection step instead of from the graveyard, and she wants to be playing Ghost of Pendragon and Fireballs and like killing the opponent as fast as possible, right?
Yeah, this does remind me a little bit of our discussion in the past, not about an advanced element deck, but about fractals during that metagame, which was a deck that, especially early on in the metagame, I think you and I had a tougher time deciding on where we placed it on kind of the time scale of the game.
Yep.
Because it was a deck that was so very focused on finding these explosive like kill lines, these sort of combo-y setups, but at the same time had this was inherently a deck that needed to set up, needed to build, and then needed the game to go to a stage where everything became lethal enough. And that's always been kind of the MO of Merlin. I want to shout out Taylor, who commented on the video I did last week where I called Merlin Lorraine like 3 times in a row because I don't know, because I just started the video and my brain wasn't fully there yet. Yeah, so I'm trying very hard to say Merlin in this episode. Taylor, I just want to I think we need to just step back for just a moment here and talk about like the whole concept of what we're looking at here today is really showing, I think, how these advanced elements will, how they can in some ways sort of like shore up certain weaknesses in decks, really, or create their own sort of play style, tempo style based on not just the element. Because we talk a lot. I think really one of the big impetuses of this episode is we have multiple episodes now talking about, oh yeah, wind beats fire, water beats wind, fire beats water. That's our, that's like our weird little trio. And sometimes it's not always exactly that clear cut, but then it's always like, yeah, but what about the advanced elements? And what do those do? And how do those play into everything? But it's such a great idea to start right here with this Merlin list. And like, we have it on display here, by the way. If you're on audio podcast, I apologize. When we do these deck lists, we say a lot of card names, and so I just put the deck list on screen. So that's where they are, but they are linked in the description below if you want to go look at them yourself. But with a fire deck, with a fire Merlin deck like this is one of the most, in my opinion, clear-cut examples of how an advanced element and a basic element play together. Because the reason we go into this metagame now with Rile the Abyss being gone, and we look at what fire level 3 decks perform, and it's Crux, 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 Crux. The reason for that is Crux, with both the champion abilities and cards like Ghost of Pendragon, has that inherent ability to do what Rile did for every other deck, which is say, cool, you're at level 3 now. Here are your cards. Please begin playing the game with the rest of your deck.
Yep.
And that's just why now Jin falls off. Fire Luxem falls off. Fire CL actually did take one of the biggest dives. That was a like super promising deck.
Yeah.
With this, especially the ablation combos, that was really promising in the Rile meta. And now it's really fringe. And it lacks the cards there, but that's what Crux does. Crux says, is drawing cards your weakness? I gotcha. Don't worry.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. Like Ghost of Pendragon is like the stereotypical like Crux card and the one everybody points to as broken because it draws you 2 cards on enter essentially. And it does, but it puts a 3/4 body down. But really it's kind of just there to help refill your hand after you turboed to 3 and lost all your cards leveling up, right? Same thing with like Sword of Avarice before that was banned. Like you saw a lot of that, right? So it's just a lot of refilling. A lot of Crux has a lot of like kind of like card advantage plays, but again, they don't necessarily move the game forward as quickly as other advanced elements like Exia. Once Jin's at like a damage threshold, right? Like Exia really can work on ending the game very quickly. Luxem can toss out a ton of damage, especially damage over time. Like that's another element that's just going to like kind of, be a very threatening element in the late game. Whereas like Crux is really not, like, it's weird to say Crux is not a threatening element because of the effect the extra cards it gives you have on the game state and how you like your ability to play the game. But these cards on themselves are not actually like throwing out anything crazy in comparison to like what basic elements do, right?
Yeah, it's like where's the Shadow Strike? Where's the Ablation? Where's the whatever Tera does? I guess we'll talk about that in a little bit. But where is the powerful, just like decisive? We talked about the Tristan discussion earlier. This decisive, like the game is simply over, and like you could maybe argue things like Incarnate Majesty are Crux's style of that, but I mean, that's Dream Fairy it, and then it's it's not quite there anymore. And so it's not as decisive as something like Shadow Strike, Incap the Song, game over.
Yep. Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. Like you think about like if Crux is so powerful, why don't we see like Wind Merlin? Why don't we see Water Merlin more often, right? Wind Merlin is non-existent. Like this deck has had like 3 appearances over the course of the game in top cuts at some point. And it's not just because like people haven't figured out how to play Wind Merlin. It's just because like Crux and Wind don't really do anything together that really help what's trying to push the game forward, right? Like the reason why Crux and Fire play so well together is because like Fire wants to just throw all of its cards into damage, and Crux is going to give you more cards. So it's a card to damage funnel that synergizes together really, really well. Whereas like Wind also kind of just wants to like move its cards around. Like Crux is moving cards around, Wind is moving cards around, but nothing's actually like damaging anybody ever.
Yeah, that's exactly the issue that we had. Because you talk about people who have played Wind Merlin. Like you and I have tried so many different like weird builds over the past couple of years for Wind Merlin. And I can think of so many games where one of us is playing Wind Merlin and that's all. It's kind of like Razorgale. All we're doing is moving cards around, except nothing's pinging anyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, okay, well, I'll draw some cards and then not take damage. Go.
Yep. Excellent. Great.
Okay.
Yeah. And like, you can talk about Wind Lorraine, right? Wind Crux is a powerful deck there, but a lot of that is because like Wind Lorraine is going to funnel those cards into like fireballs and rending flames instead of to just like building a bigger board, right? We've seen decks like that in the past run really well with multiple Banner Knights, multiple Phalanx Captains to buff the whole board, and those are cheap cards you can play really easily off of drawing them with ghosts. So like that still kind of creates that like same damage or card to damage funnel that you really don't get in Wind Merlin, just because like you can't really do the same thing. You kind of can, but it's just not as effective as it is with like Spirit Ruler. But
yeah, Spirit Ruler just having that innate ability to like enable multiple Ghosts of Pendragon right away, which is like feeding into flooding the board as your particular win con a lot more than Merlin, who's also looking to do some like kind of awkward things with your card value early on. You know, I think that's another part of this too, is that like Lorraine kind of built in has ways to just generate advantage, like actual cards in hand immediately on level 2, or push damage, kind of like can find one of those two routes, where Merlin is sometimes even forced to eat her own value, eat her own float, just to try and set up to draw one card a turn earlier. And they're not quite the same way. Merlin can do well in the longer game, but you have to have a way to take advantage of the level she gains, which, like you said, Wind doesn't.
Yeah, which is why like Water works a little bit better with her, right? Especially now that like we've got a little bit more support in Mortal Ambition and Abyssal Heaven, giving us cards like Cone of Frost that scale well off level still. We got Refracting Missiles that are scaling well with some of the fractals she's playing. And then Eventide Spear obviously is great. Like Noelle showed that off really well in their Utrecht top performance. So like you have a bit of extra damage in Water as well from that. And Lorraine also can kind of take advantage of that too. So like you can kind of see where that starts to synergize a little bit, but really like Fire and Crux just go together so well. Like it's like a bagel and cream cheese, right? Like that's just exactly what you want to be doing. Wind and Water is not quite there, right? So that's kind of why we're seeing like Crux decks at the moment really be kind of the premier like Fire advanced element decks. You still see some Fire Luxem, you see a little bit of Fire CL still. They're kind of falling off. Fire Crux is really where a lot of that's coming from, and you aren't seeing any other really Fire advanced element. You're also not seeing any Crux with other basic elements. So.
And I think like I think we're not going to cover one of these lists today, so I'm just going to throw in a quick mention because like you just made me think about this in this discussion. But I was thinking about Umbra on the flip side, which is starving for good ways to get card advantage. And no, Umbra Sight it's cool, but it's fine. It's not bad, but like it's not the same as dropping a Ghost of Pendragon. And Umbra has really leaned into being, I think, most effective so far in Water and Wind. Wind, Tristan especially is very, very good with it, obviously, where that's a perfect example of, again, Umbra just adds a decisive kill line to a deck that otherwise can play defensive and move cards around and resource manage. And Water CL, we just talked about as well, just says, cool, Umbra adds more unpreventable, unstoppable damage to a deck that just is trying to answer everything that happens on the board and go as late as possible and recover down. And so it adds a kill line that it needed. So Umbra is very good at adding kill lines, but not very good at adding card draw, which is where when you pair it with Fire, you get some fast leveling, but then beyond that, you don't have a lot of cards, and you mostly have more ways to add pressure to a deck that was going to find a kill anyway. So it's not that it doesn't work. And again, like the deck profile we posted is a really fun deck, and it definitely wins. But yeah, I mean, maybe it's just slightly suboptimal when we look at our different elements.
Yeah. I mean, that's why it was so powerful with Ryle around, is because like you got to level 3 and you had all those cards already. You did not need to like recoup that with a Ghost of Pendragon. You just got to go into your Umbra kill lines right off the bat. And yeah, you don't have that ability in Fire anymore. And so you have to rely on playing a longer game with Water and Wind and using those basic elements engines to keep your influence up in order to actually like get your Umbra kill lines enabled. It's another reason too why we don't see like a lot of like wind or water Luxem lists, because like they kind of need the fire engine. They've got a couple Luxem engines as well, but they have to get to like
Wind Luxem has been a very good deck.
That's not a real deck. It's a real deck, but it's not a real Luxem deck. That's a wind deck, like a wind allies deck masquerading as it's kind of similar to Wind Crux. Like again, like these are decks that are playing like the minimum amount. This is another thing we could get into, is that like these decks are playing like the minimum amount of advanced element cards as they can, just to kind of like justify playing like this level 3 in the deck for those effects. But like these are not, it's not like they're predominantly Crux strategies or Luxem strategies, right? Like
sure.
Even if you look at Merlin, she's very limited on the Crux cards she plays as well. You know, she's got 4 copies of Ghosts, a couple copies of Incarnate Majesty, and then, you know, 3 or 4 copies of Ascension. And that's it. And like that's a fairly healthy advanced element package compared to what we've seen in the past, but it's also not actually that much advanced element either.
Right. And you did make me think, like a lot of the times we watch Wind Luxem in the last metagame performing, it was because it just played Wind Allies with Xander.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then when the game went long enough, then it go, all right, fine. Yep. I guess I'll kill you with the Luxem stuff. So yeah, okay, fair point. It's very much a Wind Allies deck that just has a slice and dice kill and or a late game Luxem play. But let's talk about, Taylor, if we can, let's move on to some other. We've talked about some water decks that have used advanced elements. And I think you have a couple of spicy ones for us to look at. One that I believe I got comments wondering why I'm not talking about it in the metagame overview. So I'm really happy to be able to talk about it here with some people on the podcast.
I don't know which one that is. I mean, we've got the 2 decks queued up. I don't know which one you've been getting comments about. So why don't you introduce it?
It's the Kongming list.
Okay, it is the Kongming list. All right. Excellent.
Yeah. So we have Water Tera Kongming. We're actually looking at Fox Attack 555's list.
From the Bannerstone regionals.
Yes, Bannerstone regional. This was a top 16 list. 5-2. This is a really cool list. People are very excited because, you know, frankly, both of the Mortal Ambition champions were extremely exciting for people, like from just a flavor, an appearance, a design perspective, right? Like lots of people love Kongming and Jin. So it's been a little unfortunate that Jin did get a little bit of time in this, just barely at the edge of the spotlight during Ryle.
Mm-hmm.
But Kongming has only had like some Razorgale nonsense and
Razorgale and replacing like Lorraine in Merlin builds.
Right.
And that's it.
Not a lot of serious success from our girl Kongming here, but it's nice to see this coming alive, especially with this. We have a nice, you know, like you said, Taylor, I wouldn't say a huge Tera package, but a healthy enough 11 Tera cards in here, with the Bagua Vital Demise being kind of like one of the main late game kill conditions. The Tera sites giving like a lot of just that, okay, the game's going late. I'm going to draw a million cards. And I'll save the Sempiternal Sage, because you got some nice thoughts on this card to talk about as well in a sec. But like one of the big things about this list is playing a bunch of the cards that are the good, obvious Water Kongming cards. Yep. Hydra Guard Retainer, draw a million cards.
Yep.
Coriolis Ward,
also
prevent a million damage and draw a card to replace itself. A lot of the water stuff we expect Cerulean Decrees. Oh, Ceasing Edict too. I just about fell there. We have Song of Frost at home, except in Kongming it's way better. Which is really sick.
Well, but then outside of Kongming, it's not even Song of Frost at home. Is the funny part.
Correct. It's nothing at home. It does nothing. It is literally just a pay to.
That was great.
Okay.
Yep. Sweet.
Yeah. But the cool thing in here is Nimue, which Taylor, I was so excited to see this because we have talked about Nimue packages in water control for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But this combination of Nimue with Reprogram, a floating memory card that can target something, which means with Nimue it just dies. But then the big one, Ameliorating Mantra.
Yep.
from each of up to 2 target objects with floating memory, fast speed for 2. This is Nimwe's in play. Kill 2 things and get a float off of it. That's wild.
So good. Yeah. I mean, so like this is not the first time we've seen the Nimue package in action. Like we've seen this in some Water Kongming decks throughout the season. I think that's why you've been getting comments on it on your meta overviews.
Yep.
But yeah, those are obviously very powerful packages. But a lot of this stuff really helps like kind of like play into a long game that you're normally playing with water, right? You got the sweet floating memory removal package. Nimue makes your Coriolis wards also just like into removal if that's what you need instead of just protection. It doesn't replace itself at that point, obviously, but the dual mode is just the flexibility again is just so powerful.
I actually would say really quick that it's not obvious that it doesn't replace itself.
Fair. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think for very competitive players, they understand the interaction, but I guess I'm just throwing it out there really quick for people. Coriolis ward has a single target on it, and it says prevent the next damage that will be dealt to target unit, and then it has an additional set of text that would draw a card. And Nimue is worded in a weird way. The way Nimue works is when your activation targets something, then it triggers before your whatever action card resolves. So the trigger then destroys the target. And if your action card has a specified target, it doesn't say like up to 1 target or something like that. All the targets are now gone. So the effect fizzles entirely. So Coriolis Ward does not get to draw the card, unfortunately, when it is used with Nimue to target something. Additionally, if you have a Nimue out and you try and Coriolis Ward your Hydra Guard Retainer or something, you're just going to kill it.
You're going to have a very bad time. Yep.
Yeah, it's not good. But so you have to be careful.
Yes.
But yeah.
This is a good point to bring up, though, because Cerulean Decree, on the other hand, does have the wording of up to 1 target. Units attacks get -3 until end of turn. So you can use that with Nimue to target your opponent's ally, actually just destroy it with Nimue, but then the Cerulean Decree will still resolve because it's the up to 1 target instead of 1 target. And you'll get to draw the card into your memory if you were able to select a second mode with Imbue as well. So like another just powerful interaction there. Obviously you have Fracturize as a staple water card at this point too, just give you some really good interaction, and Water Barriers giving you a nice damage shield that also has floating memory. So there's a lot of value in the deck. There's a lot of ways to like just slow your opponent down while you accrue cards. And then we get to Tera, we get to level 3, and that's really kind of where the deck starts to like hit an engine point, right? So Terrasite obviously is a Tera all-star, like really helping you keep your influence way up. At this point, like you're gonna get to the point in the game as Tera and Water that you just are not going to have cards to materialize anymore. And so like Terrasite preserving itself every single turn, just letting you draw another card is really good. Especially if you're in a matchup where you have dead cards in your material deck and you can get to that point sooner. So that's insane. You have Bagua of Vital Demise, which is kind of like your kill condition here. It's not a Shadow Strike in that it's going to kill your opponent in 1 turn. It's not a Lightweaver's Assault in that it's going to kill your opponent in 1 turn, but it is a Lightweaver's Assault in that it's going to deal some damage, some consistent damage to your opponent turn after turn. And also it can double as support removal as well. Like it's very modal in that sense too, right? As long as you can kind of keep control of the game, make sure you're not taking too much damage from non-unit sources, Bagua is going to do some work for you. The kind of real big innovation here, I think, though, is the Sepulchral Sage. Letting you recover 3 turn after turn as well. Even if they take care of the Sage, it's got Preserve, so you can just get it back in your Materialize phase as well, and just recover 3 or more every turn, depending on how many Sages you have. And that's really what's keeping you like alive in these long games. Oftentimes, up until this season, we saw like most Kongming lists I had seen and the ones I had tested were not playing Sage. And so like you would get to the point where you have pretty good control of the game, but your opponent's like you're at a pretty high life total as well, or like a high damage count as well. So like your opponent doesn't have to get that much damage in to actually win at that point, and they can just sneak in the last few points of damage at some point while your guard's down, while you're trying to advance the game. And you have to end the game at some point too, right? So like eventually your guard is going to be down. But Sage just makes that threshold much, much larger and gives you a lot more wiggle room over the course of the game. And really, I think is kind of the key to making these decks work. So But this is like another example of where like Sage really needs a lot of this extra protection that you have in water to kind of give you this whole package of like this whole game plan of letting you protect yourself and get to the point where Sage can like start recovering you a decent amount of life and getting you back into the game. Whereas like in Fire, you just don't have that protection innate. And so you really can't get to that point where Sage like is actually going to save you and keep the game out of your opponent's reach, because you'll probably just be dead anyway. And like even if you're not, you don't have enough damage prevention to stop like big rending flames or stop big shadow strikes or things like that. So you're just like it's not useful. But when you have control of the game, it's very powerful.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing here is a really good example of water and fire having like totally different lines that they're interested in and things that they need to shore up their inherent weaknesses, where water's big thing is that, again, it can answer anything. Water is supposed to be able to answer anything, and this deck, looking at this deck can answer anything. It's got the ally kills, it's got the fracture eyes, it's got the taunters, it's got the end attacks, it's got wither counter removal. Not that you ever use that for that, but I guess it could. It's there for those Dao-Chan decks, those nasty Dao-Chan decks. But if all it does is stop everything, the game goes a really long time and then it loses, right? But what Tera actually adds to this that's really nice is like we're saying, it's not that like Shadow Strike decisive, ooh, I got you, because this has no way to really poke in damage early on.
Yep.
And Tristan works because you've got all these little allies that are plinking in attacks here and there, and then you follow up the shadows and you get to the point where it's like, okay, my Shadow Strike's lethal. I got you, right? That's why, as much as people want to take Black Market Broker out of that deck, it fills in 3 roles at once. It's an important card. Stop pulling it out.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important. But this deck doesn't poke in almost any damage at all. It Frosthorn sometimes. That's going to be if you get like that 3 Frosthorn start, I guess you start attacking, right? But what it needs to do is get to the stage of the game where it can just use the water that it relies on to not lose, and then have an inevitable slow victory. It's very similar to the water CL list that we've talked about a couple of times, where it's a little baked into CL in that case. But then he follows up with things like Sudore Vortex or Beguiling Coup combos or whatever, just to find ways to just, okay, I'm going to start pushing at you now that I've kind of got the game into a state where I can control it.
Mm-hmm.
And both Bagua and Sempiternal Stage are these recurring threats, and the opponent can answer them as many times as they want to, but as long as they can continue to not push enough damage on you, you'll just put it out again next turn and then keep pushing until you're able to kind of get through there. So Tera fills in for what water needs by saying water's trying to go long anyway, so I'm just going to provide the actual way to win the game for a deck that already wants to go long, where you put this Tera stuff in a fire deck and the fire deck says, I ran out of cards. I don't know what you're planning to do with the Sempiternal Sage, but you have 2 more turns and that's going to be it. And then you're out of the game.
Yeah. And like Terrasite will draw you cards, but you just need multiple turns to actually actualize that. Yep. And Fire does not have that many turns. Like it has no defense, right? So it's too liable of getting beat down before you can accrue that value. Where
Fire decks use their material deck as their core defense. Fire has nothing built in other than now we have a little bit of restorative flames or whatever.
Yep.
But Fire relies on the material deck to defend itself. So if you're putting Terrasite into a Fire deck, you're saying, I'm done materializing answers. I'm just going to use my materialize phase to draw. And at that point, you're totally out of defense.
Yes, absolutely. Yep, exactly. So yeah, I mean, like, again, like this is just kind of how we see these elements working together. And there's a lot of like symbiosis here, right? Again, we talked about like, this is not like the biggest advanced element package. It's not a bad size. Like 11 cards is a good amount. Like if we want to get into this a little bit, if you think about how many cards you can get away with before you start like just having too many like dead hands at the beginning of the game that do nothing, right? Like once you start hitting 15, 16 advanced element cards, you're starting to risk some pretty bad starts. And anything beyond that, like you're either like tunneled in on getting to level 3 as fast as possible, or you're just you're gonna stall out the game before you actually get anywhere, and you'll be left with like, you're on level 1, you have 6 cards in hand, they're all advanced elements, or 6 influence, and you've played all of your basic element and norm cards, and now you're just like hoping and praying to find anything at all to even play, just so you can actually like level up, and not even just like play a card, but you just need to put cards in memory somehow, and just, you're screwed, because you can't play your advanced element cards, obviously. So there is a balance to strike there. But I think like a lot of players really would like to play like the kind of like the fantasy that Grand Archive sells, right? Is that you go to level 3, you get to level 3, and now you have this plethora of advanced element cards, right? You have a selection of them, right? And if that's what you're looking for, you might be looking for something similar to Matari's Serene Water Astra Arisanna list that they've been playing since like February now over in Japan. And this has got quite a few more advanced element cards. I'm looking at, I think, 12, 18, 20 Astra cards in the main deck, which is, I mean, that's pretty, like, that's a good size. I think we saw the Wind Astra decks play up to like 24 or 26 even. So like we've seen decks go higher than this, but this is what you want when you're talking about advanced elements, right? Like if I'm putting together an advanced element deck, this is what I'm starting at, because I want to play some purple cards. I want to play some orange cards. I want to play whatever these weird colors are. So this is playing a very similar game plan to the Kongming list we just talked about, right? You're water, so you have defensive options. This list is leaning more into the negates than just like kind of regular defense in the first place. They don't have Nimue, so they aren't like running a ton of hard board control until they get to level 3. But they also get to like lean on Polaris because they're Arisanna. And then once they're at level 3, they're really focusing on staying alive and accruing a ton of advantage and damage to these Astra cards.
Yeah, everyone probably knows from the podcast, I'm a huge Arisanna fan. And back in February, when Matari did win a regional with the version of Water Arisanna, then that was, I believe, before Abyssal Heaven launched. I was playing that deck locally for a while because I love this list. I love Matari's thought processes here. And they've been a player I've been watching ever since then. And they've been a stalwart one trick with Water Ari. It's been awesome. But this is a cool list to show another take on what we just talked about. With like water being this go long, control the game element, but this shows kind of in some ways how the champion can skew what your best card choices are in any given scenario as well. Because the thing about Astra as an element is Astra, a lot like Tera, has a long-term, I'm going to win the game eventually. That is the case with Arisanna's package of Cosmic Bolts and putting 1 million Cosmic Bolts in your deck with Polaris. That's all due to what the champion's doing. But then now she says, cool, my deck has 10 cards in it that every time I play them, they're going to do more damage. And eventually you're going to lose. You can't get out of this one. But that eventually has to come. And what we're used to seeing is Wind Arisanna. And the reason we saw Wind Arisanna is because Wind would have ways, again, of managing those resources, of saying, okay, we're going to get to this late game. And now because we played a Fertile Grounds, we have a lot more herbs. And that's going to give us a bigger Horta counter. That's going to give us a bigger Polaris. That's going to give us more ways to generate more Cosmic Bolts. And then also we have 3 visits, which is going to give us extra recovery, some of that kind of wind, like staying in the game through there. As long as you don't push too hard, Wind's going to stay in there in the early game. And then in the late game, those actually turn into more ways just to kind of ensure you find Cosmic Bolts. Yep. Which is really nice. Now, Water instead says, I'm just going to hard answer the threats. I'm going to flash freeze. I'm going to acquiescing rejection, which actually doesn't normally hard answer things and is just a draw card. But I'm going to dissuading halts. I'm going to dredging streams a little bit and control some of those strategies that are relying on the yard. a Song of Frost, the thing, or Frozen Dismissal. And I actually love this list, which is just like one of two of like, draw them when I need them.
Yeah. That's the thing, right? There's so much glimpse in Arisanna. Like you could get away with playing some one ofs here and shaving some of those copies to fit some more like general purpose answers in.
Yep, exactly. But then when you get to Ari's level 3, that's when we kind of turn on. And the reason why Arisanna works so well in Wind is because when you get to that level 3, a lot like how Tristan would get to 3 and go, okay, if you're trying to attack me, it's not going to work now. A lethal attack does not come through to Tristan. And for Ari, it's a lethal activation does not come through because she turns on the Astral Seals. She turns on the Horta counters. And then she turns on the Spell Shield Astras as well and says, I suddenly have a lot of really, really firm defense against things. And so it's like level 3 Ari and Water is like, I don't need to run more than 2 flash freezes because I only need to find one in the early game. And then when I get to the late game, my Astral Seals are my flash freezes. My Horta counters are my flash freezes, right? So it kind of fills in for where flash freeze becomes kind of not as good in the late game. Like Frostbind is a great example of a card that use it when it's good, right? And don't use it in the late game when the opponent's just got a 12 card hand and they held up 2 and it didn't matter anymore.
Yep.
But Seal is like, okay, well, Astral Seal says it just is negated. And in the late game, sometimes it's totally free. It's even better.
Yeah, I mean, that's the nice thing about like Flash Freeze and Frozen Dismissal and Frostbind. They're not playing Frostbind in this list, but like Frostbind contributes as well. Like those cards will banish cards on negation. And so like in turn can potentially make Astral Seals in the future free just from that, right? So like there's a lot of play there, which we really like to see. But yeah, I mean, this is just kind of more of that same like Water's keeping you alive and like helping you get to this point where like your advanced element engine is going to take over the game, and you have a true engine at this point. Like Sage and Bagua are kind of like engines, like single card engines a little bit in that they recur themselves really well, but like Astra is very much an engine where Arisanna is making your star calling cost 0 so that you can play like multiple things a turn. You've got a lot of really powerful things to see and like generate card advantage or to control the board in Astra Sight and in Comet Fall. So on top of like your Polaris already, on top of your acquiescing or rejection to kind of recoup some of that advantage too. So like there's a lot of this play here, and then we see the same kind of recover options here in Potion of Healing and Fast Cure. And these are probably going to be more front loaded than Sage was. Like you're probably playing your Fast Cure earlier rather than later, but it's still going to do that same thing of like keeping that buffer, that life buffer healthy. And one of the really interesting things here is like, we look at this list. If you looked at the wind lists from seasons past, they were serene lists, but you would run like 12 wind cards probably. Like you have Fertile Ground, you have 3 visits, and then there was some other random wind card. There was a lot of Scatter Essence because obviously like it was a fractal meta. Yep. So like you never really had to worry about being stuck with wind cards when you popped that Serene Spirit. Here, there's a lot more water cards where there's, 8, 11, 15, 17.
17?
So like that's a fairly significant number. Like again, like that's the like pretty much the top end of like advanced element cards you see outside of some of these like Arisanna and Rydex. So like you're like pretty liable to kind of get stuck with some of these cards if you pop that Serene Spirit. But you're also playing these cards probably fairly aggressively in the early game too, compared to some other lists. So you might actually like by the time the late game runs around, you're probably not stuck with too many of them. And then again, like this deck just runs so much glimpse and so much card selection that you can filter away a lot of these in the late game.
I think the big thing to remember is that like cards like Flash Freeze and Frozen Dismissal, like we just said, are at their best in the early to mid game, right? That's when they're able to, and especially with Ari, because she can get that Polaris out fairly aggressively. Now that it's 1 cost, it's actually a lot safer to bring out against a lot of decks early because there won't just be like a stray reduced to ash that kills it anymore. Instead, you can just bring that out against aggressive decks like Suited or whatever. And then if you rolled some level up herbs, you can pop those to actually get a surprise Flash Freeze and like take out a really important activation early on in the game. And you can kind of push these out and aggressively use them to protect your life total and stay alive. then you get to the late game, well, you used them already.
Yep.
So it's, they're you don't need them anymore. And so it fits really nicely.
Yep. But again, just to tie it all back here, like this is just another really good example of a deck that is like where the advanced element is really, really pointed at like getting damage over time. It's not just bursty.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need like the power of wind and you need the power of water behind it in order to give it the time it needs. Like we just have seen 0 Fire Arisanna decks play Astra.
I've played them. I've played them several builds, and
played is a strong word.
Well, okay, I did play it at the Scrub Out event at Utrecht. Actually, I pulled that out for fun, and I was 0-3 when I got pulled away to guest cast. So
do you mean 3-0?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Oh, you were confirming. I thought you were about to refute the point here.
But nope. Yeah, I'm proving the point. Good, actually,
yes, excellent. All right. Yeah, no, like there's just no defense in order to keep you like that keeps you alive to actually like accrue the damage you need. Like it's one of the reasons why like Fire Luxem actually works is because like Luxem has that sustainability that Fire's lacking.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get a couple extra like really strong assassin pieces. Like again, this is kind of where like the class comes in to really like dictate how you can build the deck as well. Like you're really starting to kind of get to the point where you see these synergies coalesce between like kind of the 3 different things. Like you've got your class, you have your basic element, you have your advanced element, and those all need to synergize a bit in order to get like a coherent functioning deck. It's like that's the reason you don't see a Fire Assassin Tristans with Umbra. It's the reason you don't see like Tony. Like there's very few Fire Tony Neoses because like Neos is actually like a pretty good like element for keeping you alive, but it doesn't really have defense or not defense. It doesn't have like a ton of offense, and the Fire actually doesn't offer that much offense to Guardians at the moment either. Like there's a few things, but you just don't have the same kind of potential that like Assassins and Warriors have at lower levels. And so like your Tony lists, like if you're looking at Guardian Neos lists, are often going to be in water and wind as well, just because like though the defense of wind and the defense of water combine really well with the defense of Neos to again give you time for like you to accrue a bunch of other small advantages through whatever like token generation you're doing in Neos.
Well, there's a whole other problem that's a topic for another episode of the podcast, I'm sure. Like Tenoris and Jin are 2 champions that are in the same boat of their levels 1 and 2 do not play into their level 3 strategies at all. They are anti-synergistic. Well, maybe not anti-synergistic, but they lack any synergy.
No, I think they are explicitly anti-synergistic with going to level 3 just because they offer no refundability, right? Like if you look at all the champions that go to level 3, all of their like level 1 and level 2s, some amount of them offer some sort of card advantage, where Tony, level 1, level 2, no card advantage at all. Like you are not getting any cards back in any way, shape, or form. Jin is the same exact thing. You're not getting any cards back. But you look at Lorraine, she gets you a materialization for free. So it's not like a card, but it's like a lot of time. Or you look at her level 2, which is going to actually generate cards. As long as she can kill something, but your deck is set up to kill things. Arisanna obviously is drawing cards when she's sacrificing herbs. Tristan's drawing cards if you have your prep counters. Xander's returning a card from your graveyard to your hand. All these champions.
The world where Xander Deft Executor was never printed, and we only had, oh my God, let me see if I can do this. No, not Prepared Scout. It's Prepared Scout is the level 1.
That's level 1.
I literally was thinking about this the other day, like literally yesterday. I was like, I wonder if I can remember the name of Xander level 2, and I had it, and now I've forgotten it again. The original.
It's something you do with your eyes. And he's doing it all the time.
Looking hot.
Always watching.
Oh, always watching. Oh, sure. Okay, fair.
But yeah, like I completely agree. In a world where Deft Executor does not exist, and all you have is always watching, like Luxem is maybe good in Alchemical Revolution season. Like it probably holds its own, but after that, I think it falls off so hard. So like you need some way to like keep your influence up as you're leveling, and Tony and Jin are just not doing that in any way, shape, or form. That's one of the reasons too why like Sylvie Slimes was such a menace, right? Because like her level 2 was, just refunding one card is kind of like the baseline to what we've seen to be like necessary to actually make your advanced element decks tick, your level 3 decks tick. And like in her best case, she's refunding two cards, right? And like so it was just a perfect storm of what she needed.
Yep. And our new champions too, CL and Diana, both have ways. CL obviously that level 2 can put a lot of float in your yard, can get you all set up to do that. So that's really helpful for him on the journey to level 3 for a lot of decks. And Diana has the ability to almost tutor for float in the deck, in water specifically though, right? It's kind of an interesting, like it's really tied to her ability to put Aqua Mirage Whisper out.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise, her level 2
has Spell Shroud too.
It has Spell Shroud, but it doesn't have a way to mill float, which is what Aqua Mirage Whisper does. And I think that's why you're not going to see a lot of Diana level 3 outside of water, because that's the only sort of champion built in that has that, outside of a world where we get another Rile the Abyss meta, because that is what changed everything. Yes. That was, okay, what champion do you want? You can have the cards, and then you can go to level 3 and do something there. And then the question was just how good was your level 3 alongside what Fire was doing for it, which was nothing other than drawing those cards initially. But because it drew the cards, you could play things other than Crux in those decks and do really well. But I think that maybe provides a little bit of a wrapper, a way of thinking about these different level 3 decks, what your advanced element does, what your champion does, and what your element does, and how to find that perfect package that ties them all together to win a game. Because you kind of need some perfect storm of those things to be able to win with a level 3 champion.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's not like these level 1, level 2 decks that are sticking to their basic elements and just playing everything whenever they want for the whole game. You need some sort of way to like enable yourself, right? So hopefully that helps you kind of like think about these things as you're putting together your advanced element decks. Like I know there's a lot of like a lot of champions, a lot of advanced elements that have not seen the love they have wanted, people have wanted to see at the competitive level. But even at just like your locals level or casual level, like this hopefully like helps you kind of synergize a little bit more, because like despite Tony not having a good like champ pool for leveling up and going to advanced elements, Neos is so strong. Neos is incredibly strong. And like there's some synergy there that you can put together, and like there's a lot of fun Neos decks. So like this hopefully helps you kind of put together some more coherent Neos decks. Or Exia or Luxem or Umbra or whatever your advanced element of choice is. So, but Dan, any kind of closing thoughts here as we wrap up?
We should be putting this out when we're either at or on the way to Niagara. So if you guys are there and listen to it while you're at Niagara or on the way, find me and let me know. That sounds really fun. I want to chat with you guys. That would be really cool, just to know who out there is the diehard, gotta listen to the Recollection step, get the hot tech. Unfortunately, I've mostly talked about how I don't expect to win a lot, but I expect to have a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all there.
Heck yeah. Yeah. And if you have any sweet, like, basic element, advanced element combinations you're really cooking up or are excited to share, let us know in the comments, and that might inspire us to brew some stuff up, and we'd love to just see what you guys got going on anyway, because there's a lot of untapped potential in this game still, right? Like there's a lot of element combinations we have not seen yet, so a lot of ways you can move forward. But with that, I think we're going to wrap it up here. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. I'm sure it'll be right before our Fargo regional at J-Dubs, actually on November 8th. So if you're in the area, why don't you stop on by, say hi, join the regional, play some games with us. If I'm there, if you beat me, you're going to win some extra event packs. We're going to have a good time.
Yes.
So yeah, just, have a good time with that. And with that, I think we're going to sign out here. So we'll catch you in the next one, everyone.
Bye, everyone.